It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. And welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host here on this Monday edition of the show. Thanks so much, everybody, for making RealAg Radio and Rural Radio 147 a big part of your workday. And today we got a great one. This is kind of a unique, we got a bit of a crossover happening here. A lot of times on Mondays, it's just Pete and I, yakking about agronomy and getting his perspective and me chiming in, pretending to be an agronomist. We've also got Lyndsey Smith joining us here today as well. You know her from the Tuesday show, as well as she always joins us for the RealAg Issues panel on Friday. She'll be here to talk about what's going on in tonight's Agronomist episode. It's going to be a lot of fun, a bit of a year in review. Pete will be one of the guests on the Agronomist tonight, so you can check that out by going to the Real Agriculture YouTube channel, 8 o'clock Eastern tonight. That's Monday night, and Lyndsey will be here to chat about that, and we'll maybe get some of her thoughts about the year past, as well as what she's thinking agronomically in the year ahead as well. And Pete and I are going to talk about Christmas. Today is wide open. Really, like when you're this close to Christmas, you do not need to have some sort of set schedule. We'll just see where the conversation takes us. We kind of excel at that sort of format. Also, I want to remind everybody, if you are not subscribed to the Real Agriculture emails that go out every single morning, you can do that by going to realagriculture.com/subscribe. So don't miss out on that as well. Now, if you have any feedback, we'd love to hear from you. Send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You can also find us across all the different social media channels, or you can call the RealAg feedback line. And of course, that number is 855-776-6147. So make sure you provide that feedback over the holiday season. Love to hear from you. Tomorrow, we got a great show. John Ibbotson from the Globe and Mail will join us. Megan Murdoch from Hill and Knowlton will join us. We're going to try to get a bit of a handle on what the heck is happening in Ottawa. And will we have Prime Minister Trudeau once we return in 2025? That will be on tomorrow's show. Let's take a break. When we come back, we got Peter Weepy Johnson, Lyndsey Smith right after this. This is Shaun Haney, host of RealAg Radio. To all our incredible Real Agriculture listeners, I want to take a moment to say thank you for your support and engagement over the past year. Agriculture is a tough business, and we're proud to be a part of the conversation that matters to you and your farm. From all of us at Real Agriculture, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. May this season bring you some well-deserved time with family and a chance to recharge for what's ahead in 2025. Here's to another great year in agriculture together.
What's next doesn't happen by accident, doesn't happen by chance.
What's next happens when experience meets expertise, when data meets dollars, and when steel meets earth.
What's next happens when the promising work of Pioneer's state-of-the-art research centers meets the unsparing challenges of more than 17,000 on-farm trials.
Our ultimate goal is to bring the next seed breakthrough to your field.
Because Pioneer isn't just our name.
It's our mission. Pioneer.
What's next
happens here.
I'm Lyndsey Smith from RealAgriculture.com. Join me Monday nights for The Agronomists, a 1-hour live and interactive show broadcast across YouTube, Facebook, and X. Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, I host expert agronomists from all over the country to give you answers to some of the toughest agronomic questions. Join us live or catch the replay Tuesday morning. That's The Agronomists with me, Lyndsey Smith, Monday nights live at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Let's get rolling here on Agronomic Monday here on RealAg Radio, Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Hey, farmers, trust is everything. You know this. Genesis Fertilizers is making real progress toward providing reliable, locally produced fertilizer. Join the ownership group and protect your bottom line. Learn more at genesisfertilizers.com/credibility. Looking forward to at Crop Production Show. Going to be hosting a Genesis event one of the nights. I think it's on the Wednesday night. So make sure you join us for that. They're making some, it sounds like some real progress when it comes to that facility, as that ad just mentioned. So looking forward to getting that update from Genesis Fertilizers. Let's, hey, joining us, we got to introduce people before we get into it. Peter Johnson. Pete, how are we doing?
Awesome. Thanks, Shaun. Thanks for having me.
Bless you. For those of you that did not see that, because you're listening on radio, Pete just had an epic sneeze. Are you okay, Pete?
I am 100% okay. Thankfully, I was able to hit the mute button so I didn't blow everybody's ears off.
Goodness gracious. You got allergies or a cold or what's going on? That looked like it'd been brewing for a while.
Oh, Shaun, when I sneeze, man, I sneeze. There's no halfway. Actually, that's almost true about Pete in anything he does. There is no halfway in.
Over the top.
She's 100% all the time, man.
Even the sneezes are hyperbolic.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Pete, we have a guest today.
Yes. Awesome.
Yeah, looking forward to this. We're going to do this more often, I think, in 2025. Also joining us here on today's show is a very familiar voice. It is Lyndsey Smith, editor of Real Agriculture. Lyndsey, how are we doing?
Well, I'm doing well. And I was just going to note that not only is Pete a father, of course, he's a grandfather. And I'm pretty sure with each of those titles, your sneezes are supposed to become even more over the top. So cat-like reflexes hitting the mute button in time. So didn't blow all our eardrums out. Thank you.
I put your sneeze up against my dad's. My dad has the most epic of sneezes.
That's what I'm saying. It's a dad trait.
I got to say, my entire life when I've sneezed, it just always, it's no little like woof kind of sneeze. They're always like woof sneezes. It just,
It sounds like my dad is shooting his toes out his nose.
Right.
When he sneezes. It like comes from the depths.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Hilarious.
Anyway.
Laugh about it. Hey, so tonight, Agronomist, Lyndsey, 8 o'clock Eastern, right. 6 o'clock Mountain, 7 o'clock for those of you in the Central Time Zone. It's a year in review. It's a wrap. And of course, if you don't turn into the Agronomists every week, you should be. It is a great live stream show every Monday night at realagriculture.com/live or on the Real Agriculture YouTube channel, and really focuses on a high-end agronomy. So if you're an ag retail, you're an agronomist, you're a farmer that, maybe is a CCA or has those sorts of aspirations, this is the show for you. Tonight is a year in review. There's a lot to chat about.
Well, there is. And for those listening today, I will note my guests tonight are Peter Johnson and Ray DeBanco. So if you didn't get enough of Pete on today's show, you just come on back, 8 p.m. Eastern, as you said. Right now, 7 p.m. for Saskatchewan as well. We should note that's what you're on right now, Saskatchewan. You're on Central Time. So year in review, which means I tasked Pete and Ray with getting me sort of their top topics for the year. So of course, this does go every Monday night. So this is I think it's show 42 for the year, because of course we don't go on holiday Mondays. And so there was a lot to cover. And so some of the things on the docket, Pete's got his wish list, but Ray sent me his as well. We're definitely going to talk about the power of rotation. That has been one of the biggest episodes of the year. And we're going to talk about drone applications for sure. That's been another big one. And we will talk about on-farm field trials and data. I think data, just generally speaking, we had a really great episode just a few weeks ago about sort of data literacy. So can you tell what's good data versus garbage data? What do you do with it? And those sorts of things. So all of that is on the docket. We'll be exploring all that. And one of the reasons, I think Pete being on the show, of course, that's an annual tradition. Pete has no choice. And so he's going to be there. But Ray is one of those, for those who don't know, Ray DeBanco, he is now retired, but he spent his entire career devoted to fertility, to crop fertility, specifically Western Canada, but he's well known, of course, across North America. And he is someone he watches every single Monday night. He is there live. And it's great because I know I can depend on him when we have a question that comes up from the audience. I know that he's there, and sometimes he's the one who answers it, whether he's a guest or not. So we really appreciate having Ray on, and he's got lots of insight to share on tonight's show.
I really do think one of the stories of the year, and it involves agronomics, is that We had a really good U.S. corn yield. We had pretty decent yields in central and eastern Canada. And there's still a lot of profitability concerns, even with those yields. I think that's kind of one of the big stories of the year. Pete, does that resonate with you?
Yeah, 100%. And in fact, I just was, scrolling through Twitter this morning and more of the same, where growers are saying, yep, the falling loonie, yeah, it's good for crop prices, but equipment, if you have to buy new equipment, that's going way up. If you have to buy fertilizer, that's going to go up. So it's really interesting that we continue to be in this conundrum with profitability, and it's just not like it was a few years ago, even a year ago, but certainly 2 years ago. We've come through a nice period, actually almost a decade, where growers have been able to make money, even if they weren't necessarily the sharpest marketers or I got to be careful, because Western Canadian farmers with, 4 years of drought might be saying, wait a minute, but growers who had crop to sell here in the East, it was sort of easy. It's not looking easy. And that's really got people just worried a little bit about how that's going to play out.
Yeah. You look at that Canadian dollar, you mentioned that, it's like middle of September, end of September, we're at 74.45. Today we're at 69.5. Yep. Significant. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say significant and as we see over a short time period. So if we had a slide whistle, down we go. And it's right. I mean, it does support our crop prices somewhat, but it makes other things more expensive. And I think part of this conversation is also, and we've talked about this, we've been hearing from the market analysts as well, is that, what farmers pulled off, North America wide, let's say, pulled off is really a testament to the agronomy, to the improved varieties and hybrids that we have, to the knowledge base that we have. Farmers can grow a lot per acre, and now, though, unfortunately, it sort of has worked against them when we're talking about these, heavy carryouts that are going to weigh on prices potentially, and not necessarily because, supply is a bad thing per se. It's that demand has just become incredibly, it has shifted quite a bit, and it's just not necessarily there from some of those key players, and that is weighing on prices. There just isn't necessarily the demand, or there's uncertainty in the demand. We have to see how it plays out.
Well, look at Western Canada, off to a really good start for the most part, like rocking. We were doing the farm rapid fire in May, June. It's like, I think it was like the end of May where one farmer from Edmonton, who shall remain nameless because I don't want to get him in trouble, said, I got a generational crop. My agronomist says it's generational out there. And hey, hard to disagree with them. But then from July 1st on, it just decided to not rain, which did not produce the yields that people were hoping for at the end of May. But if, StatsCan's right, and we have around 18 million metric tons of canola, that's amazing considering how the tap really shut off at the back end of the year, Lyndsey.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is, what do we say in the spring? It's a long way for the bin. And so we know there's just far too many variables that can happen over the course of the summer, which is why certainly, some of our Western farmers got burned many years when they've pre-sold too much crop. But it's still a testament to what we can accomplish with really sound agronomy. And if we get decent or timely rains, snowpack as well is one of the things we look at when we're looking forward to 2025. It looks like we've got some more moisture in a lot of the regions that needed it, which means, yay, we've got potentially crop potential. Yeah. But again, if the prices of inputs don't come down, we're still looking at really having a tough time penciling out profit for some of these crops.
Sort of like Chicago Bears season, win the first 4 to 6 games, and it's just been drought in the win column since. That's
Oh yeah, you just sure. When you're a Chicago Bears fan, you just got to get used to that, Shaun. Sorry about your luck, man.
Pete,
it's bad.
I'm telling you, like it's a life of misery. It's committing yourself to unhappiness, Pete. And it could have been avoided. All you had to do is select a different team, and I didn't.
You could have, but you didn't.
I didn't.
Yeah, so
you made your bet.
I will say that it's almost the same for a Montreal Habs fan. Other than they did win the last 2 games. So, the first 3-game win streak of the season for the Habs. Maybe they're coming to life. Who knows?
Well, Lyndsey, one of the most controversial things that Pete has said recently is all about tillage. Can you hang around for one more segment? We can give him a hard time about this.
I would love to.
You're listening to RealAg Radio, Rural Radio 147, where we attack Pete right after this.
If you're serious about agriculture, RealAg's got you covered.
For over 10 years, we've listened to and shared what producers have to say about everything from policy to agronomy from coast to coast.
Keep up with the latest in Canadian agriculture at RealAgriculture.com through daily newsletters and check out our YouTube channel.
Thanks for joining us in the RealAg community as we continue to cover and serve North American agriculture.
Before you get back in the field this year, spend some time with the Corn School on RealAgriculture.com. Get all the information you need on hybrid selection, planting depth, crop inputs, and more from a wide range of industry experts. A massive library of video content is available on demand when you need it most. Spend your time outside of the field, inside the classroom, with the Corn School on RealAgriculture.com.
Get all the information you need to keep your pulse crop healthy and profitable with the Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com. The Pulse School is a free YouTube video series covering agronomy, research, and more across a host of different pulse crops. It's also available as an audio podcast wherever you download or stream your favorite podcast. Check us out on YouTube or visit RealAgriculture.com. The Pulse School, brought to you by BSF Canada.
I love giving Pete a hard time, Lyndsey. It is just, one, it's easy, and two, there's actually a lot of fun to it.
It's mostly because, there are some people who dish it and can't take it. Pete can dish and Pete can take.
Oh, he can.
He can. So thank you for that, Pete. We appreciate it.
It's 100% good, and dish it out because I'll dish it right back.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know if you have a leg to stand on here, Pete.
Oh, I do. 100% I do.
Here we go.
I have 2 legs to stand on.
Okay, if you say so. So on a recent episode of Wheat Pete's Word, which I encourage everybody to make sure you're subscribed to. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts. It's posted at YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever. Pete does it every Wednesday. New episode drops every Wednesday. It's fantastic. Pete, you've been talking. First of all, I thought you were anti-tillage. I guess we should start there.
And 100%, Shaun, it's not anti-tillage. It's do the absolute minimum to get a good result. And I'm a no-till proponent, but no-till, sometimes you just have too much residue. The ground won't dry out. So absolutely, I am a reduced tillage proponent. I am a no-till proponent. I do not like tillage, but we can't always do everything 100% no-till. If we could, everybody would be doing it, and they simply are not.
You know, your Wheat Pete's Word is a 4.6 out of 5 on Apple Podcasts. I just looked here on the screen.
You know what my grandkids would say to that, Shaun? My grandkids would say, "Hey, Grandpa, what happened to the other 0.4%?"
Reminds me of my childhood right there.
Yeah, raising them right. Okay, so hang on though. So this is, and I think this is, whenever we talk tillage on the Agronomists as well, it is a controversial subject for a lot of reasons. Frankly, everyone has their personal experience and opinion with their land of what has worked or not worked. Everyone has their personal philosophy on change, etc. But we also, I think at times, are very quick to dismiss the nuance maybe of the differences between tillage types, rainfall, etc. And so I really do actually, I know we're supposed to be ragging on Pete, but I appreciate Pete's perspective of the least amount of tillage to still get a good result, because that is a bit more nuanced than saying this tillage is bad and this tillage is good. I from the West, and even from a high rainfall area in the West, want to see far less tillage than we probably do on average. But I recognize where some tillage or some types of tillage work really well to get a good result. But Pete, tell us about just how angry people are with you, because some people are accusing you of saying that the moldboard plow was actually okay. Is that really what you said? Because I don't think so.
So it is a real study in people's perception and just what they hear versus what was actually said. And actually, part of it, I think, is that they've chosen to hear what they wanted to hear because they get to pick on Pete, and that's 100% fine. I was asked a very specific question: moldboard plow, disc ripper. Tell me which you prefer. So in that situation, it's sort of like asking Pete, which do you prefer, continuous corn or continuous soybeans? And I want to scream, neither. but if you force me into that, I'm going to say continuous corn, because continuous soybeans have no residue and they just are all bad for soils. Continuous corn would be better. Similarly, you're going to make me choose between the plow and the disc ripper. I'm going to pick the moldboard plow, but yes, there you go.
That's why.
It was just, I forget who tweeted out. Maybe it was Adam Pfeffer tweeted out. There goes 40 years of no-till promotion right out the window.
Turncoat.
Yeah. Pete. Yes. Okay, but let's pause for a second. You single-handedly, apparently, are to be blamed for 40 years of progress as well, if you can undo it in one tweet. Anyway, carrying on. Why would you pick the plow? Come on now.
Well, but I have to back up and also say the moldboard plow operated appropriately. And so, Lyndsey, if we get to it tonight on the Agronomists, we're going to show a picture of, Warren Schneckenberger driving through Oxford County saying, oh, people are listening to Wheat Pete's word because here's moldboard plowing in Oxford County. And it is the worst stinking job of moldboard plowing I've seen it for.
Warren is even trolling you.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
As he should.
I'm an equal opportunity person to be trolled, Shaun. Everybody can troll me. It's all good.
Okay, but is it we've talked about this before, Pete, but the challenge with tillage, it's not like combining or other things we do, like a sprayer, because you need a different tool for the job, right? Like when I go to harvest, I have a combine, and my header may change, but my combine's my combine. When it comes to tillage, depending on the moisture level, soil type, the conditions of the year, which may be different than, maybe the last 4 or 5, I need a different tool. And that's what makes the tillage thing here a little bit more of a challenging discussion.
Yeah, absolutely, Shaun. And so it was dry this fall, and you probably get away with more tillage when it's dry because you're not doing damage. But there's so many, as Lyndsey points out, there's so many nuances to tillage that if you have every tool that's known to mankind, you still may not have the right one at that particular time. And it's trying to apply the principles. And don't forget that, the one thing about the plow versus the disc ripper is this tillage erosion component, and tillage erosion versus wind and water erosion. And so every producer kind of has to weigh those impacts. And if you're in Western Canada, man, wind erosion is something you really have to worry about.
Yep.
Yeah. And guess what? The moldboard plow, full stop, in that situation is going to do a bad job, because
I have never seen a moldboard plow in Southern Alberta.
Right.
There's a good reason for that. Yeah.
Because it's all just going to blow away, right? But if I get on sloping ground, tillage erosion 10 times worse than wind and water combined in humid climates, right? Not in the windy west. So you have to balance that. But you also, Terry Daynard's, I think it was his master's research, looked at particle size and how that influence. So soil aggregate size, particle size, and how that impacted corn yield. And he could predict corn yield by the number of particles, soil particles, that I believe were less than 2 millimeters that were surrounding that corn seed. And so that's really critical to getting high yields. But the more tillage you do, the more prone you are to crusting, the more prone you are to erosion. You destroy soil aggregate stability. I mean, Senator Rob Black and that whole Senate study on the incredible resource that soil is and how we have to protect that. So it's this balance. And that's what makes tillage tough, man. Makes it tough.
And if I can just put in a plug for our January 6th episode, I do have Dr. David Lobb and Phil Needham lined up to build off that conversation because Dr. Lobb has some really cool new research results on conservation tillage. And Phil Needham really wants to talk about, as Pete has pointed out, exposed soil and the impact of a hard rain and the water erosion risk when you have aggregate stability, or if you have residue cover, you've got a significantly different interaction between those raindrops hitting that soil versus bare soil or very fine soil or these sorts of things. So January 6th, put that on your calendar too. We're going to talk about that too to kick off the year.
That'll be a good one.
Be a good one. Yeah, it is.
Well, we've been talking about kind of looking back a little bit, but Lyndsey, I'm curious, what from an agronomic standpoint, what's one of the things you're interested in 2025, or you're looking forward to? You want to see how it works out, or
okay,
kind of from an agronomic standpoint?
I like it. Okay, so a few things. Tillage is obviously one. So soil management is always going to be a big one. So every year we tackle some of those, and no different for this first quarter. So I'm trying to line up as many weeks as I can for the agronomists, but generally speaking. Another one is going to be certainly the genetic side. So RNA technology, CRISPR technology, how that fits into varietal and hybrid development for sure, and artificial intelligence. So that is one I'm trying to line up for January. I don't know, Pete might have a smart remark here about maybe we need real intelligence before we have artificial, but definitely how AI fits into an agronomic plan, I think we are just getting into as we combine autonomy and prescription mapping and really great cameras. Then there's also the data crunching side on the AI side. So, we've seen some applications of AI in agronomy that maybe aren't the best. When you ask some of the AI about, you ask them for recommendations, not so bueno. But I think there are other applications that definitely, as we move forward, are going to be pretty cool. So we'll be exploring that too.
Pete, what about you? What's an agronomic story you're following for 25?
Oh, so following, yeah, absolutely, but also want to be part of, Shaun. And surprisingly enough, one of the things is sulfur, because what seems, and it's interesting because for a lot of North America, we used to get enough sulfur out of the atmosphere that we didn't even have to think about sulfur. We always had lots. Then, of course, through, cleaning up the diesel fuel, cleaning up the coal-fired power generation plants, all of a sudden, now we have to buy sulfur as a fertilizer that we didn't have to do for the last, 100 years, give or take. So what's interesting about sulfur is that the time of application appears to be having a fairly significant impact on whether or not we get the results that we want out of that sulfur fertilizer. So that's one that I really want to look at deeper. I want to follow. I want to get more information and try to sort out how we can use sulfur fertilizer better. And it's not as easy as putting it on in the fall because it leaches over the winter. So it really is about that early spring application. Can we bring more to the table? And I think as well, I'm interested in AI, and I'm interested in AI, but I really want everyone, and I challenge the university students with this all the time, but use your critical thinking skills in terms of when you look at what the AI generates, does it make sense? Because AI is just a computer, it's an algorithm, it's building off all the knowledge, but man, if you don't ask the right questions, or if the AI doesn't understand what you're after, it will generate garbage, just as Lyndsey pointed out with the recommendations. So it really is about how we can utilize that. And, things like getting the tractor to drive alongside the combine to unload the grain buggy, that's simple compared to what we have to do with some of these more biological applications. We just don't understand them well, period. How is AI going to do that for us?
I think for me, it's kind of a policy issue that overlaps into agronomy, and that's what happens with things like sustainability programs and conservation efforts. We're going to have a change of administration in the U.S. There has been a lot of money flow to the farmer for changing practices. We're going to have an election in Canada, if you believe the polls, and you probably should. There's a pretty big, lead by the Conservatives. We're going to have a Conservative government. What did they do with some of that programming? And I think a lot of people sort of just jump to it's going to be gone. Not really sure about that. I think it's probably a little bit too early to tell. It just may be rephrased and repackaged and look a little bit different. But there's been a lot of money and a lot of effort flow into whether that's high efficiency fertilizer or that is things like cover crops, for example. I think it's going to be interesting to see what that kind of programming looks like by the end of 2025.
Same thing with renewables too, right? So
good call.
ethanol and renewable diesel are both big users of crops that policy may change significantly here at home and of course in the US as well. So that'll have a huge impact. And
in more so of a Western Canadian topic, but acre shifts. We're hearing a lot about people saying, canola's not penciling like it has. I may have to make some changes. Now, we're in the talking season part of the the year. So I'll believe some of that when the rubber hits the road. We're seeing the US farmer talk a lot more about it makes more sense to plant more corn. We're going to have an increase in the corn acre, a lowering of the soybean acre. Acre shifts, I think, are also going to be kind of interesting here too, as we see those sticky input prices and sort of stagnant commodity prices for sure. But
it's true in the East as well, Shaun. I've talked to lots of growers who are just saying, man, soybeans don't work. Yeah. And way more interest in edible beans, right, this year, or IP soybeans, because those premiums, when you have low prices, the premiums make more difference. So lots of people looking at different things.
Well, Lyndsey, this has been awesome. You need to hop on here more often on Mondays.
I'll do that.
Should.
Sure. Thanks for the invite, guys. But also, I'll be around tonight.
We're very welcoming here.
Yes, clearly. Yeah, exactly. So thanks for having me.
I'm looking forward to the Agronomist tonight, everybody. 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Mountain, if you're in those time zones. Highly encourage you to check it out. They have a fantastic live chat. You watch on YouTube. You can participate with everybody else. It is a lot of fun. Great community of agronomists that tune into that show every single week. Lyndsey does a great job. Like she said, I think this is like episode 42 or 43 on the year. Always having 2 to 3 different experts, and it's only about an hour or a little bit longer, and you can get CCA and CU credits as well. Here's the other part. We actually have an email that tells you, hey, here's the latest episode. It went out. Make sure you watch it to get those CCA credits. We're going to be making some changes to that email in 2025, as well as a little bit more information for you agronomists out there. So make sure you go to realagriculture.com/subscribe to get on that email list. Lyndsey, thanks a lot for joining us here today.
Of course.
Good stuff. Pete, you can't leave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You're sticking with me.
Okay.
I got to give you more trouble.
I'm up for it. Yep.
We'll be right back on RealAg Radio, Rural Radio 147, right after this. Here's what Wheat Pete's word on realagriculture.com is all about in under 30 seconds.
It's wheat time. I love wheat time. I love wheat. Get that sulfur on. Get that seeding rate right. Get that nitrogen on your wheat right. Get that protein. Know your variety. Know when you need to put fungicides on. Pick your product. Pick your rate. Do the right job. Get this wheat crop right. Have a nice day. Grow amazing wheat.
Infuse some energy into your next corporate event, customer meeting, or conference with RealAg Radio, Canada's national agriculture radio show. Create a unique experience at your next event with host Shaun Haney, broadcasting RealAg Radio live on SiriusXM, featuring exciting guests, captivating interviews, and the latest news from the agriculture community. Contact advertising at realagriculture.com or call 587-787-1795 to book your on location with RealAg Radio today.
Welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Pete, we've been talking about the past year and then the year ahead. Is there anything else on your mind when it comes to the year ahead that we should talk about and hit on besides prices being down and input prices being, where they are and maybe even headed higher, according to some people?
Yeah. So, Shaun, I always, there's a bunch of things, and I'm getting lots of questions. The cold temperatures, what does that do to the wheat crop? So we're always have to monitor that. I will say that if you get 1 inch of snow, that has an R value of 1. And you say, well, put that in perspective. So a foot of snow is the equivalent of having a 2x4 wall filled with insulation. And so a 12. So it doesn't take much snow to give me that insulative value. But there's lots of things to look at from that perspective. How does the winter canola crop? I mean, looking ahead, Shaun, I'm really excited about winter canola, but we have to make sure that it's going to withstand on wide acreages these temperature swings and these dry falls that we had. But the other thing I think that growers really have to pay attention to looking ahead with tight economic times is, where can you actually save a few dollars and do that in a way that doesn't cost you in the long term? 100%. So that's going to be the real focus, I think, on the winter meeting circuit, right? It's all about you cannot save your way into profitability, but if you nickel and dime yourself, you're going to nickel and dime yourself into oblivion. So it's kind of that balance. Where do we shake out from that perspective?
Yeah, you and I were in London at that Agromart meeting just a couple of weeks ago, and that's one of the things about 3 weeks ago now. That's one of the things I talked about in that keynote, right? Was 100%. That, save a nickel to spend a dollar kind of thing. I'm going to show you some, Pete, here on the screen, which is actually kind of amazing to me. Is the weather? Here's the kind of an example of the weather that and there. Listen, in certain parts of the prairies, I believe it's cooler than this, but look, this is Lethbridge, the 10-day forecast where I am here in the Banana Belt. Got a high of 8 degrees today, right?
Yeah.
Or actually 9, sorry. Tomorrow's 8, Wednesday 5. Like we don't have a minus for a high until the 30th of December.
But Shaun, I just think we have to get used to this because if there is one thing that we have seen is that the winters are getting warmer. I mean, last year was a perfect example in Ontario. We didn't actually get a winter. We almost had a winter that they would expect to get in the UK. Almost no snow all winter long.
Right.
And so it's just, I think we have to get used to that. But the downside is that in your continental climate that you get in Lethbridge, that you get in Regina, that western climate, when it goes cold, it can go cold, fast, and hard. And that isn't good. And by the way, livestock hate variable weather.
Oh, 100%. Right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, now we're looking at the forecast for Saskatoon. Okay. Mm-hmm. Also, high of -3 today. Tomorrow's a high of 0 on Tuesday. Now, when we get to the back end, it gets cooler at the beginning of January. -26, -22 as the lows, which feels a little bit more normal. But maybe crop production showed this year in Saskatoon we're not going to be -50. Which, honestly, Pete, if that's what we get from climate change, I'm all for it.
Yeah, and so, Shaun, but it does have ramifications, right? When we lose the cold temperatures, then we are going to see more pest problems because those extreme cold temperatures, it's why you can't grow winter wheat or winter canola in Regina or in Saskatoon. It just gets too cold, and you have to build in so much cold tolerance, so much low temperature tolerance that you lose yield potential. And some interesting new work that I just saw out of Eric Lyon's shop at University of Guelph, and you look at North Star, which is kind of the standard, that -21. Most of the soft red winter wheats in Ontario are sort of this is low temperature where 50% of the plants die, right? So how cold will they take it? North Star, which is sort of what you look at for Western Canada, is -21 Celsius. You look at our varieties, they're -12 to -16, and that 4 or 5 or 10 degree difference makes a huge difference in terms of how much energy the plant puts into that winter survival. So Yeah. Similarly with insects, if the insects can survive further north, who knows what that's going to have in terms of what new insect pests we might see, or how that might impact things like grasshoppers or some of the pests that you already have.
Yeah, my understanding is, though, we're supposed to have a cold winter. So I wonder if we're going to turn really cold here in January, February on the prairies. Because I had done numerous weather forecasts where people were, people are saying cold winter.
Yeah. Okay, Shaun. And it could be, but if winter doesn't start in Lethbridge till the 1st of January, it's going to be a shorter winter than you often would have expected.
Assuming not a late spring.
Okay. But even like the chances of you still getting those really cold winter temperatures on the 1st of May are pretty slim. And so it might be a 3-month winter, but probably that's all. Whereas, there's times where we've had a 5-month winter in Western Canada, and it's just going to shorten it up. I don't know. I just think that that's the way things are shaping up moving forward. And it could be a really cold January, February. Yeah, by then it probably gets to be warming up. That's just the way that weather works in Canada.
You like winter, don't you? I can tell.
I don't hate winter. I'm a warm weather. I'm a warm weather walker, Shaun. I love walking, but when it gets to minus 22, you are not going to find me outside walking. It's just too cold.
I hear you. Hey, Pete, we're going to take a quick break. We've got more coming up here on Agronomic Monday on RealAg Radio right after this.
RealAg Radio is Canada's only daily radio show focused on agriculture. Get expert advice on Agronomic Monday. Tuesdays and Wednesdays will cover a broad range of issues. Thursday we'll hear from farmers across the country on the Farmer Rapid Fire. And we'll wrap things up Fridays with the RealAg Issues panel with Kelvin Hepner and Lyndsey Smith. Join us Monday through Friday at 4:30 Eastern. And don't forget about the replay at 7 in the morning on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM.
Hi, I'm Bernard Tobin, host of the Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com. Throughout the year, on the Soybean School, we'll bring you timely agronomic video content from planting to harvest, from the latest agronomic research to the latest in production technology. Check out our massive video library on YouTube, RealAgriculture.com, or download the audio podcast versions wherever you get your podcasts. The Soybean School is brought to you by BASF and Syngenta Canada.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio, Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Hey, farmers, trust is everything. Genesis Fertilizers is making real progress toward providing reliable, locally produced fertilizer. Join the ownership group and protect your bottom line. Learn more at genesisfertilizers.com/credibility. Shaun Haney, Peter Wheat Pete Johnson. Pete, what did you ask for Christmas? A new moisture probe or something like that, or maybe like a little scouting shovel, something in that area?
I like both those answers, Shaun, but actually my truck is just about on its last legs. We're 434,000 kilometers on that truck, and Pete might have to bite the bullet and upgrade. So that's what I asked for, but it's not going to come under the Christmas tree. That ain't happening.
How big is your tree?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yes. No, actually, Shaun, at the end of the day, when you ask me, what did I ask for Christmas? What I really want for Christmas is just some time with family and friends and to recharge, and I'm taking 2 weeks off from the Word. That's really unusual.
I don't know who allowed that, but anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, it's because both Christmas Day and New Year's Day are Wednesdays, and that's when I do the Word. And normally there's one Wednesday in between Christmas and New Year's. Well, this year, the way it works out, I'm taking the 2-week break, but it is. And even Mark Gasparato, who we've talked about lots here, his latest newsletter update was about how important taking that time to recharge is for your mental health. And the other thing is that it's a time when family makes the effort to come and visit. And even family that's far away or that doesn't make that very often, that's really, really critical, I think. And so if everybody can just have a great family gathering where everyone gets along and has some fun and enjoys each other's company, what more could we ask for than that?
You know, it was interesting. Last night we went over to a friend's house. Our kids played baseball together. We'd been friends for a long time, and we got together for some Christmas cheer and we played cards. And somebody made the point, you know, why does it take Christmas for us to all get together? Now, mind you, all the kids are all away now and stuff like that. But for the most part, even as parents could get together more often and play cards and, you know, stuff like that. It shouldn't take Christmas to do that. Right after this show's over, going to catch up with some friends of mine that I went to university with, who we said, you know, hey, look, we need to get together over Christmas. We're gonna attempt that at the pub down the street here from the RealAg Studios here in Lethbridge. So yeah, it is that kind of a time. I agree with you. We got relatives from the UK over. We've got relatives from Kelowna. Like it's gonna be a full house. We got 18 people on Christmas Day having supper at in our garage.
Well, that's perfect, Shaun. How come you didn't invite me?
Well, I did. You just didn't respond.
Yeah, no,
you gave me the cold shoulder. Plus, it'd be a long flight.
Yeah, it'd be a long flight. That's for sure. No, and so that's good. And you're right. It shouldn't take Christmas, but at least that there is this one time of the year that everybody looks at as family time or friend time, and we should do it more often. Heck, people used to go to euchre nights once a week, Shaun. You talk about playing cards. I love playing cards, but we never do because we just never have the time. It seems like, and I hope Western Canada and Eastern Canada is not getting the Ontario disease.
What is that?
The Ontario disease is everybody's in a rush all the time. And you can see it the way we drive. It's so crazy. People will go down the road and they're in and out and zoom. It's just like, man, at the end of the day, you get there 30 seconds earlier to do what? To buy a coffee. Oh my gosh. Everybody seems to be in a rush, and it should not, it's way better if you can just slow down a bit.
Interested in your thoughts on this. Okay. So we've got a lot of audience that, you know, it's family business, right? And so you've got multiple generations that are running a business together. Okay. This is the time of the year where that those same people, not in a work environment, but in a family environment, get together. I would think it would be the healthiest to not have an operations meeting during Christmas supper. Would you agree with that, Pete?
100%. Like at some point, and it doesn't matter the family farm business or the big corporation. You go to the Christmas party. It's not about the business. This is about building the relationships, the personal relationships. It's amazing to me. I act, right, Shaun? And when you go with a group, it becomes like family. And so it's really important to build the personal relationships. And yeah, it's a business. You have to run the business, but having a business meeting at Christmas dinner is not where you want to go, because if there's any issues, it's just going to sour the whole event. No, just have fun.
Talk about something else.
Exactly. Talk about the Chicago Bears and how badly they're doing again this year.
Oh, Pete, let's pick a more positive topic than what's going on with the Chicago Bears. Mind you, it will be a big point of discussion in our house about who the new head coach should be. There'll be that. We'll probably talk a lot about Arizona State football because our family is huge Arizona State football fans, and they are in the Peach Bowl, which comes up on January 1st against Texas, the Longhorns. So there'll be lots of discussion about that. My wife loves when the boys and I dig in on football talk. I say that very tongue-in-cheek. She does not.
Yeah, but you're not talking business, right, Shaun? So
that's right.
For you it's sports. For other people, it could be entertainment. Just find something to talk about that everybody enjoys.
Here's the challenge, though. My job is talking about, you know, there's agronomy, there's politics, what's happening in agriculture. I guarantee you, though, when we have the supper and we're having, you know, the appetizers and having a Christmas drink before supper, guarantee you politics comes up. that's when I feel like regular social conversations turns into work discussion, and then it just crosses over. So I can't avoid it. But
maybe you're a little different than a lot of people. Politics is not everyone's job every day, right? So don't talk about politics this Christmas. Just say, Shaun, when everybody gets there, politics is off the table. We are not going to. Yeah. So it's too much of my work. We're going to talk about sports and baseball and I don't know, dance, whatever, right? Like whatever the family is into, that's what you talk about.
Okay. So what's the Johnson plan for Christmas?
So we have our UK contingent is not going to make it to North America this Christmas. They're actually both families will not also be in the UK for their Christmas vacation, so to speak, their Christmas time off. But the rest of the family will be coming here to Sheila and my new country house and country home.
That was very British of you.
Yeah, well, it's in the country. We used to live in the town. Now we're in the country, so it's the country home.
Okay, so you don't have two homes. Like you made that sound like you're some sort of like aristocrat living in Lucan, where you have your city home and then we have our country home.
Yeah, I am anything but an aristocrat, Shaun. I'm Peasant Pete. That's who it is, Peasant Pete. Yeah, and happy to be that way. No, everybody's coming. It'll be awesome. We're going to have turkey. It's the way that Christmas should be.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't looked so forward to the holiday season like this in a while. Like it's just sort of maybe it's the way it falls this year. I'm not really entirely sure, but it's going to provide the opportunity for recharge, which if you look at the travel schedule in January, February, March, I need to be as recharged as possible. Maybe a backup battery. Something like that. You know, like a truck that has like you've got like the jerry cans in the back, and then you've got like the sub tank, the pony tank. You got that. That's how it's going to require.
Yeah. Well, all I can say, Shaun, is thank you for what you do for Canadian agriculture, because I know how hard you work at it, and I know what your schedule looks like, and there's no way I could keep up to you. So please get all the recharge you can, get as many batteries, backup batteries, jerry cans filled. Agriculture needs you, and we appreciate what you do.
Pete, stop. First of all, I try to keep up to you. And
I'm an old guy.
We have great fun doing this. So
yes, for sure.
So Pete, I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll talk to you in 2025 on the other side, okay?
Looking forward to it, Shaun.
The best. Peter Pete Johnson. Now, over the holidays while you're recharging and, your spouse says, can you not talk about the farm, blah, 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 blah. You can put earphones in and you can get up to date on Wheat Pete's word. No one's going to know. You can tell them like you're listening to something to do with church, or maybe it's about like trying to better yourself, but really you're honing in on agronomy and you're listening to Wheat Pete's word. Highly encourage you to do that. Don't tell your spouse I told you to do this. You're on your own if you get caught. But you can go to Wheat Pete's word. You can go to wheatpete.com on Real Agriculture, or of course you can go to iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. The episodes are everywhere. Highly encourage you to check it out. Pete does such a tremendous job. If you have any feedback on today's show, we'd love to hear from you. shaney@realagriculture.com, or of course, the RealAg feedback line is 855-776-6147. Thanks everybody for getting real and getting connected with RealAg Radio. And we'll chat again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.